Hi guys, doing a news week for week 10, and just want to kind of talk a little bit about what I want you to work on for this week. So this week we're switching things up just a little bit. What we have been discussing so far in this semester are what we consider clinical conditions. When we talk about anxiety disorders, OCD, PTSD, depressive disorders, we consider those in the field clinical conditions. Now we're going to switch things up and go to personality disorders. So just a little different. So just to think about personality, if you remember back from your general psychology class, I know some of you had me for general psych, some of you had the other professor, you learned that there are different personality theories and how we believe that your personality develops. So if you can remember back in personality, there were 4 big theories and how we know and what we research on personality development. So if you can remember, one was psychodynamic or psychoanalytic. And this has a huge influence from, of course, Freud. And when you think of Freud's perspective, he was one of the first individuals to give us a structure to our personality, how he believed our personality structured. So when you think about those 3 areas, and if you remember, it's the id, and you're born with the id. The id comes out with you. It is the animalistic part of who you are, and it follows a principle which is called pleasure. When you recognize yourself in a mirror, self-awareness, and humans recognize themselves about 18 to 23 months, they look in a mirror and say, that's me. Self-awareness, the ego develops, and the ego's reality. You know now that you're real. You look in a mirror, you see yourself back, you're real. Reality. And then as we teach kids, moral development and, the convictions of what is right and what is wrong, your superego develops. Within that superego, or another name for superego, is your belief system. And so within that superego, your conscience develops, and remember the old saying, let your conscience be your guide. So all of that was important within the development of that personality, and the things that happened to us as we were growing up within that development of the id, the ego, and the superego, today presents itself in areas that may be defensive, because we look at defense mechanisms. So that's kind of the Freudian perspective of development, and it really has a lot to do with self-observation, self-guidance, self-preservation, self-concept that we have of each other that deals with psychodynamic. Another theory in personality development is trait theory. Another word we kind of look for if you think of traits, because people say, well, trait, what do you mean? Think about disposition, your disposition. And we look at traits, we know that traits can be inherited. Some of you may have taken a personality inventory. Some example would be like the Myers-Briggs or the Big Five Factor. The Big Five Factor, I like to say OCEAN: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, neurotic behavior. The Myers-Briggs, you look at introvert, extrovert, thinking, feeling. And so we study these specific traits or dispositions about individuals. And so we look at the DNA, we look at all of parenting and going generations back to see, are those specific traits inherited? Think about this. This is an example I give my class. How many of you have bought a breed of dog based on its disposition? Like the first family dog that we had was a golden retriever. They are amazing family dogs. They're just, you don't even have to do anything with them. They just know what to do. So we know that happens within animals. So we look at people as well. So we have trait theory. Another one is behaviorism and social learning. If you were raised in a different environment, would you be a different person today? How has your conditioning, your environments condition you to be a certain person, have a certain personality? If you're an introvert, and I score high on introvert, how does the environment condition and reinforce my trait, which is introvert? So kind of think about how social learning, how do we mimic, how do we learn, how we model, all of that, different types of conditioning may influence the personality as well. And then the last theory is humanistic. And in humanistic theory, which is a huge force in psychology, they looked at self-will. Do you have the ability to look in a mirror and say, you know what, I think I want to make some changes. I don't like what I see when I look in a mirror. So you have that positive regard, that self-will to go out there and make changes. So when you look at the theories that we have now, can we explain, based on those theories, why some individuals may have deficits in their personality development? You have to think about personality is how you socially navigate the world that you're in. And is it possible that some people, maybe through genetics, maybe early conditioning, that there's deficits there, and the environment, really reinforces that. This week in my in-class psych, we started Serial Killer Week and profiling serial killers. And I had them go all the way back to look at childhood and to see whether or not was there something that happened during that development, whether you use any of the theories or all of the theories, that could explain in that development why that person is who they are today, why they are today. And that's what I want to do with you guys this week. I'm going to go ahead and pick a serial killer for you. I'm going to pick Ted Bundy. And one of the reasons I'm going to pick Ted Bundy is the popularity. It seems like they would just constantly reinvent Ted Bundy. Now there's another movie out on Ted Bundy. So I'm gonna propose a couple of questions to kind of get you into it. I know there's some students out there are very interested in serial killers. It's always so popular. But I'm going to propose some questions based on Ted Bundy. So you're going to have to look, the history of Ted Bundy, and there's a lot of information. That's why I picked him, because he's so popular. And kind of want you just to really think about personality development. Where do you think throughout his life that maybe some issues were like already there? And in fact, use one of the theories. How was he conditioned? Were there some issues there? Was it relationships that he had in his family? When did he start to, kind of become more aggressive in his behavior towards other people? So I'm just going to propose those questions. Think about it. You get to kind of play serial profiler, and have those questions for you. So we're going to kind of change it up just a little bit. Personality is a little bit different. And then, we'll go back to the clinical conditions. But also to let you know, too, that sociopathy or antisocial personality disorder is not the only personality disorder that's out there. There's 9 others. And so we go by clusters. We cluster them in cluster A, B, and C. So in cluster A, we have paranoid, schizoid, and schizotypal. Cluster B, we have the antisocial, we have narcissism, we have histrionics, we have borderlines. Cluster C, we have avoidant dependent and OCPD, obsessive compulsive personality disorder, a little different than anxiety. So in fact, just kind of look at all the different personality disorders. But why do we cluster them? What do we see about the self? When that person looks at themselves in a mirror, how do they see themselves looking back? Because there's just some deficits that are not working in the normal development of the individual with a personality disorder. So just kind of keep you, to think about it. If you are psych majors, I know some of you are psych majors, Theories of Personality is actually a core course in psychology for psych majors, and you're absolutely going to just love that class. It is just a fantastic class. And if you go on into as a mental health clinician, going into clinical psychology, counseling psychology, advanced personality theory is a requirement as well. But it's just an amazing class. So just kind of think about that. Just kind of wanted to talk with you a little bit about personality. I'm working on my questions, and again, I've picked Ted Bundy as our serial killer. I know there's a lot out there, but there's just a lot of information I know that's on him, so it'll be easy to find it. And I'll make an announcement and let you know when I have that ready. All right, have fun with the serial killer. Bye.